Really only one big story today in South Africa. The release of the Phala Phala report into the theft at President Cyril Ramaphosa's farm has left the country shocked and divided. But it seems there are different views and opinions about the president, even within the governing party. Now, the panel's report found, among other things, that Ramaphosa may have committed serious misconduct and violated the Prevention and Combating of Corrupt Activities Act. And he has yet to answer where the money that was stolen, the money in US dollars on the farm, where exactly it came from. It's a complicated situation, and eNCA senior reporter Aviwe Mtila is here to make sense of it all. Hello, Aviwe. So you've gone through the report. It does make recommendations, bottom line, that there is a case to answer on the face of it, prima facie. What exactly are the recommendations, though?
Well, Sally, the Constitution itself has specific guidelines, basically the handbook on such democratic matters. And indeed, Section 89 of the Constitution has specific grounds of impeachment. One of them is that the president has to have committed a serious violation of the Constitution and law. The second bullet point there would that the president have to have committed a serious misconduct. The third one being that the president has to be ill or basically disabled, therefore can't perform his duties. I want us now, Sally, to take a look at the findings of the Section 89 panel on Phala Phala, where they say that the president may have committed a serious violation of Section 96, subsection 2A of the Constitution. Already that is a red flag on its own, where it says that the members of the cabinet and deputy ministers may not undertake any other paid work. That means that the president has to stick to his government salary and not have any other business interests on the side, such as the Phala Phala farm. As we roll on, Sally, we then move on to another possible violation, where it says that the president may have committed a serious violation of Section 34, subsection 1 of the PRICA Act, where it also says that the president must report certain offences. Failure to do so is a criminal offence. And of course, we do know that there was that Phala Phala theft in the president's farm back in 2020. That wasn't reported on the official channels, we are told. As we move on then to another bullet point there, it says that another serious misconduct is that the president violated is Section 96, subsection 2B of the Constitution, where it states that that official may not act in any way that is inconsistent with their office. That would come then where we're told, of course, there were those conversations with the Namibian government and how to just hush this all up and also try to retrieve these culprits who allegedly stole the 580,000 US dollars from the president's farm. As we move on to another page, we then find out that another misconduct there is that the president may have committed a serious one, in that the president violated Section 96, subsection 2B of the Constitution, another constitutional violation that says that these office bearers and cabinet members cannot expose themselves to any situations involving the risk of a conflict between their officials. We heard those number of irregularities where it speaks of the money that was concealed in the sofas, to moving on to the South African Reserve Bank, where we understand this foreign currency may have not been declared to the South African Reserve Bank. So now the president is at a crossroads where we do know his fate largely lies, if he is going to go constitutionally, lies with the members of parliament and what they may do going forward in seeking those impeachment hearings.
It's very interesting reading the report. It makes it very clear that this is the first part of a series of parts within Parliament. The three judges make it very clear that their mandate is to look at the facts available in terms of the submissions coming from the President, the EFF, the UDM, the ATM. Their role is not to do investigations. Their role is not even to do face-to-face interviews. But they've looked, and in my understanding, at all the stories and said, where are the holes? And perhaps for me the most glaring hole, if you look at the different versions, is that while the president has now given us a name of a Sudanese businessman who apparently spent 580,000 US dollars on buffalo, the report says the reality is we don't know anything more about him. We don't know how he arrived at the farm, why he arrived at the farm, Christmas Day 2019, and just made this massive purchase. There are a lot of holes as you read through the report that do indeed raise further questions. But the reality is this is a preliminary report. from what the report says, the next step, of course, is what's going to happen on the 6th of December, when we're going to see parliamentarians discuss this, debate and vote. At that point, they may vote, am I correct, to set up an impeachment committee. Now, that committee will have much deeper powers, and that may take us forward towards an impeachment of the president. I know that we've been speaking to a lot of experts today. We've heard many people say the president needs to step down now. But what are the experts saying to you?
As you rightly put it, Sally, that ad hoc committee can be then instituted where deeper scrutiny can happen, interviews done and those people called in where we can find out, because as you say, there's a lot of loopholes. We don't know why, for example, as the report pointed out, why after 2 years those 20 buffaloes are still at the Phala Phala farm. We don't know, for example, the amount exactly that was found there, as the panel suggests that while the president says it's $580,000 US, there was one of the suspects that were apprehended. We do understand that suggests it could have been $800,000 US. A lot of questions, and I have been having conversations with a lot of people, some of them choosing to keep mum. If, for example, you speak to Kasatu, they'll tell you that this has dire consequences for the country. So they don't want to speak off the cuff, Sally, saying that they'd rather have the internal conversations, then come out with a joint statement, going out to the public. Same as the South African Communist Party, who says they're going into the Central Executive Committee meeting over the weekend. Then on Sunday, they'll come out with the outcomes there, where this issue will be deliberated on. But the Electoral Committee, we saw them earlier on this afternoon. I actually had a word with the Secretary just a bit earlier on before that meeting, Chief Mtila, who suggests that while we saw just about a week ago ANC top 6 nominations, possible candidates, Ramaphosa being one of the 16 there, they say that nothing has changed. According to their constitution, President hasn't done any violations that would constitute him being removed from those possible candidates that will contest the ANC electoral positions in the elective conference on the 16th of December. Also spoke to the UCT Professor Pierre de Vos just on what may happen going forward. This is what he had to say.
The report makes clear that there are unexplained aspects to this whole scandal, and that the president has not really given a detailed explanation of everything that happens, and that the panel in essence said that on the balance of probabilities, the president's version is not correct, is untrue. So that's quite a serious finding to make. The question is, there are also aspects of the report that seems to be a little bit odd, and some jumps of logic. But the heart of the problem is, I think, more political than it is legal, in the sense that the report as a whole paints a picture of the president that is really unflattering. Everything now depends on the National Assembly and the ANC MPs in the National Assembly, whether they will vote to proceed with a commission or inquiry in the National Assembly. And that depends on the ANC leadership, who normally would instruct its MPs which way to vote.
What are you hearing about a presidential address? I heard on 702 Vincent Magwenya, the president's spokesperson, saying it's coming within hours, it'll happen today. But we're also hearing the NEC is now only meeting tomorrow.
Well, those are the indications that that presidential address might happen today, and the calls that I've been making suggest that maybe we could see a possible resignation, but of course that's unconfirmed. I'm told that he's keeping mum to himself at this time, cards to his chest, not much being said. But that NEC meeting, of course, we're expecting to happen tomorrow. It was supposed to be today, but it has now been moved. Of course, those talks happening behind closed doors, Sally, that could prove fruitless for the country, if I can put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for breaking that down for us. That, of course, was Aviwe Mtila. And, of course,